It's certainly true that the Sichuanese love their chilies and their tingly Sichuan pepper, but it's so much more than that. We're also going to look at my favourite and everyone's favourite, yu xiang wei, fish fragrant flavour. This is one of my favourite dishes, not only in Sichuanese cuisine, but in the whole world.
Oh, really?
It is, it's totally gorgeous. So it's the fish fragrant flavour is one of the Sichuan classics. It's made with pickled chili, ginger, garlic and scallion and a bit of sweet and sour. And the pickled chili, you can either use the Sichuanese scarlet pickled chilies pulverised to a paste, or you can use the chili bean paste, and that's what we're going to use today. And this is one of the sort of gentle, seductive Sichuanese flavour combinations, so with a little bit of heat, but really a long way away from that numbing and hot beef.
Does it have to have fish? That's not really why it's called fish fragrant, right?
No, I mean, that's one of the interesting things about it. So what most people say is that it's called that because it evokes the taste of fish, because it uses the seasonings of traditional Sichuanese fish cookery. You can use any kind of eggplant. I mean, I often use the Mediterranean ones, you know, the Turkish ones, maybe smaller with black skins. But the colour of these Chinese ones is so beautiful and looks lovely in the dish. And thank you very much for cutting them and salting them. So as mentioned, we need our ginger and garlic.
And it's the ginger, the garlic, and the scallion that are such common flavorings for fish.
Yes, with the pickled chilies.
With the pickled
Yeah.
chilies. Hence the name.
Fish fragrant.
Fish fragrant.
And incidentally, I mean, some chefs actually can put minced pork in this dish, and you can make it with stock, as we're going to today. But I often make the dish for vegetarians, and I just use water instead of stock.
Right.
And to be honest, there's so much flavour already going on, it doesn't matter, and everyone loves it. So it makes a great vegetarian dish. And then the scallions. The scallion greens will be added right at the end of cooking to give a lovely fresh fragrance and a flash of green.
And you don't use the scallion whites here.
No, the green, because it's lighter and pretty and green, and it just needs a lick of heat. So the first thing I'm going to do is season the wok. That is to heat the wok up very hot with a little bit of oil. And that kind of seals the surface and creates a non-stick surface.
And that's something you do every time you kind of get that initial
Routinely,
routine
yes.
going.
It's actually less important with vegetables than with meat. Like if you have pieces of chicken, for example, that you're going to stir fry, if you put them in a wok that's not seasoned, they'll stick. You'll get crusty bits on the wok, and then you can't move it around, and they'll burn before the dish is ready. You want the oil to be quite hot, about sort of 180, 200 degrees when you put them in. And with a domestic wok, in a restaurant you do them all at once, but in a domestic wok I do them in a couple of batches. And you want the oil to be hot enough to really sizzle violently around the eggplant, because you don't want them to be soggy. There's a Chinese word for this cooking method, which is liu. And what it means is to have an ingredient that you first deep fry or poach, and then you take it out, and then you make a sauce, and then you combine the sauce and the pre-cooked ingredient.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
you can see how long it took to explain in English, and there's one word that you could use in a Chinese kitchen to describe that method.
Another cook.
What you want to do is cook them until they're tender and a little bit golden.
Okay.
So you get that lovely buttery texture on the eggplant.
So now it's time to bring it all together.
Yeah, so I'm going to heat the wok up really hot first, just to reseason the surface. And then I'm going to turn it down to medium, because I just want to coax out those lovely flavours of the aromatics without overpowering them. So you want it to sizzle gently around the chili bean paste. Now I'm going to put in the ginger and the garlic. Can you see the way I'm just sort of trying to judge the heat by taking the wok a bit further away? Because you don't want to burn them, but you want to get that lovely sort of rich sweetness of the garlic and ginger. So can you put in the stock now?
Yes, here it comes.
And then at this stage I'm going to put in the sugar.
Okay.
And a teaspoon of soy sauce.
And this is light soy sauce again?
Light soy sauce. So dark soy sauce is normally used for colour, and light soy sauce when you want a sort of lovely savoury umami taste. Okay, and now we can put the eggplants into that sauce. And so this stage, you really just want to simmer them in the sauce so they suck up those lovely flavours. And then at the end, we'll add a little starch to thicken the sauce, and then vinegar to make it sing, and then a bit of scallion green.
I like that, make it sing.
So that's one of the last elements, that and the scallion, the last elements of the fish fragrant flavour. And you just want to give the vinegar a lick of heat to sort of fuse the flavour, so don't overcook it, that's why it's added at the end. And then finally, scallions. So there we are.
Gorgeous. Look at that. Yes. Beautiful.
So have some eggplant.
Yes. This is Fuchsia's favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
That is so good. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's just silky and melting and delicious.
And all those different flavours going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this sort of, for me, is a real illustration of the brilliance of Sichuanese cooking. You don't need fancy and expensive ingredients. You can make just a humble eggplant taste divine.